Hi guys, welcome back to a page in the chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige and today we are going through all of my 5-star reads of 2021. So I kind of shamelessly stole this idea from TikTok, but unlike a lot of the people on TikTok, I have way too many 5-star reads this year to do it in a TikTok. It has to be a full YouTube video. Now, this is not to say that I am very willy-nilly with my 5 stars. I'm actually quite strict with 5 stars, but it's just been a good year for 5-star reads. I feel like I'm finally reading books that I genuinely enjoy and are for me. If you are one of those people that think that because I've given out a load of 5 stars, I am a bad reviewer, you're just not reading the right kind of books. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be that difficult to give out 5 stars. Let me actually count how many 5-star reads that I have. I have 16 5-star reads out of 73 books. And honestly, that's a lot higher than it normally is. Like, as I said, I feel I'm just reading really good books this year, and I'm not gonna apologise for the fact that I've given out so many 5 stars. Like, if the books deserve it, the books deserve it. So anyway, this is gonna be every single book I've given 5 stars this year, and a little bit why, but I don't want to completely bore you and make this video like an hour long. So if you guys like the sound of this video and you like what you have seen so far, why not hit that big red subscribe button down below to stay tuned for future content. I upload twice a week on a Wednesday and a Friday, so there is no shortage of bookish content here. And now let's get on into the books. So these are not really in any particular order. I have a vague memory of whereabouts in the year they came, but I don't really want to do it in order. That's more work than it needs to be. The very first book, and I do remember this one quite vividly, that I gave 5 stars this year, is a book that I swore at the time was going to be my favourite book of the year, and it was still my favourite book of the year until July, I believe. I think July was the month when I read the book that topped it. But this book is House of Earth and Blood, also known as Crescent City, by Sarah J. Maas. Now, I've been kind of vocal about how I haven't loved Sarah J. Maas's other books, and to be honest, I always love her first books. This woman knows how to set up a series. It's just the second book, I don't love the way she writes love triangles. They feel a little bit flat, and I don't love that she always has characters where every single male that comes into the story, you know, are gonna fall in love with them. I'm really hoping that she kind of doesn't fall into this trap with the second book in this series. This was so good. Like, I'm freaking out just thinking about this book. Like, this book honestly made me feel like I was a teenager again, like what even would the word be called? Like a young teenager. Like, I was freaking out at how like obsessed and fangirly I was over this book. So just if you are not aware, this is an adult urban fantasy set in a society where each different mythical creature belongs to a different house / faction. It centres around our main character as she investigates the murder of her best friends and what this kind of leads her to discover about society. It's truly incredible and deserves the 5 stars. I will be rereading it as soon as we know when the next book is coming out. Sarah J. Maas, please don't let me down. Then the next 5-star that I gave was to The Wizard of Oz. I mean, never mind the fact that this is just a beautiful cloth-bound edition. I really enjoyed this book. It was short, it was cozy, it was very different from the movie but still kept everything that is lovable and enjoyable about the movie. I mean, obviously this was written first, so the movie kept all those things about the book. Honestly, there's not much more to it than that. It was just cozy and wonderful and very, very accessible. If you're looking for an easy classic to get started with, I recommend this. The next few 5 stars are kind of like a collection of books that I gave a 5-star, and so that is Heartstopper. So this is volume 4, which I gave 5 stars in June, but I also gave Heartstopper volumes 2 and 3 5 stars as well, so 2, 3 and 4 all 5-star reads, and volume 1 was a 4-star read. I love this series. It is so cozy, so cute, so easy to read. I believe I've read every single one of these books in under an hour, and I was vlogging when I read this because I read this for my 21 books in 21 hours challenge, and you will literally see me freaking out and fangirling over this book. If a book can really bring me back to peak teenage fangirling, I'm probably gonna give it 5 stars because that is just a mark of how much I'm enjoying it. And then another book that I gave 5 stars was The Unhoneymooners. This book was the only book that I managed to finish in the 2 months of this year when I just couldn't read. I was in a very deep reading slump, anxiety slump, like everything, and I just could not read. And this book was like a beacon through that slump and was the only book that I could finish. It's so fun. This is essentially follows our main character and everyone at her sister's wedding except for her and the best man get food poisoning, and so her and the best man have to go on the honeymoon because it's non-refundable and her sister doesn't want it wasted. And so it's kind of like a enemies to lovers slight trope, more like a dislike to lovers trope, and it's just really, really fun, so I really recommend that. And then another book that I gave 5 stars to was A Short History of Drunkenness. This was a reread for me, and it's a non-fiction looking at the history of alcohol consumption through time as well as across different cultures. It really aims to do a lot, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's funny, it's comical, you learn a lot, and it's about alcohol, and I really like non-fiction books that are about really weird niche topics. So this one kind of had an advantage going in. And then speaking of rereads, I reread The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson, and I still gave this book 5 stars. It is my favourite Morgan Matson book still. It's just so cozy and bright. This follows our main character, and her dad is a politician and they're very, very distant from each other, and she has her whole summer planned out. She's going to go and do this very like pre-med fancy course ready to apply to colleges, and then her dad has some kind of political scandal and she gets dropped from this course. All of her summer plans fall through, and to just kind of do something with her summer, she takes up a job as a dog walker. It's such a good book. I love it. And then another Morgan Matson book that I gave 5 stars this year was Second Chance Summer. This book was a 5-star read because I sobbed like a baby. And when I put it on my Bookstagram that I had sobbed like a baby, a bunch of people messaged me and were like, oh thank god I wasn't the only one who sobbed at this. So you're not alone for crying. It seems kind of weird to cry at a YA contemporary, but it's really sad. And again, if a book can get that emotion out of me, it's a 5-star. And Second Chance Summer follows this family, and they're going on a trip back to their summer lake house that they haven't been to in years, and our main character is kind of forced to deal with a lot of mistakes that she made as a child, and she kind of ran away from them, and now she has to go back and actually confront these people that she's hurt. So good. Morgan Matson writes top tier literature. We have a visitor. Hello. Hi. Do you want to review the books? Thank you. Do you want to review the books? Mwah. Come on, get down. Come on, you can do it. What's next on my pile? Oh, this one. This was another 21 in 21 read. I read some really good books in that challenge, and this was an easy 5-star, and so that is Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me, and this is another contemporary graphic novel quite similar to Heartstopper, and this follows our main character Freddie as she attempts to get over her breakup with Laura Dean. And this honestly just had so much heart, so much soul, was so fun. I mean, the graphics and the colour scheme is just absolutely gorgeous. I had so much fun reading this. Unfortunately, I have read Mariko Tamaki's other graphic novel and really didn't like it. So this is one of a kind, sadly, but well worth of 5 stars. And then I believe there's one more 21 in 21 read, Animal Farm by George Orwell. I love George Orwell, especially now that I've studied a lot more Russian history than the first time I read it. I picked up so many more things. There's so many subtleties to it that I missed as a child that I get now, and I really Really enjoyed it. And then we have Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda Lo. This is a YA historical fiction about our main character who is Chinese American and also discovering that she is a lesbian in 1950s America against the backdrop of the Red Scare. There is so much socio-political context in this book. I absolutely adored that Malinda Lo actually writes in Mandarin in this book, and if you want the translation you have to read the footnotes. I feel like that really represented our main character's cross-cultural identity really well, and if you read the author's note at the end then you can really see how much research she put into this book. I loved it. I loved the fact that I got to learn something. I loved the fact that it had a plot line that I really enjoyed and could get behind. I loved the fact that so much research went into it. Like, it deserved the 5 stars. And then another book as well that I gave a 5 stars, largely on how much research went into it and how much I learned from it, was Olive by Emma Gannon. This is a fairly recent 5-star read, and this follows our main character Olive as she's coming to terms with the fact that she doesn't think she wants to have children, and all of her friends, her really close-knit group of friends, have children, and it's about her feeling really distant from them and learning how to maintain these adult friendships when she wants something so different from everyone else. I really learned a lot from that book. It kind of felt like an editorial piece in some parts because it was just pages of research. It's aimed at people in their 30s, but I would recommend it to people in their 20s just because I feel like it took the pressure off my 20s a little bit, because it kind of starts attacking these societal norms that you're successful in your 20s and you have a family in your 30s, and it kind of starts deconstructing those ideas and questioning them. And so then it's kind of like, well, do I have to be successful in my 20s? You know, I can do it in my 30s. So, you know, that was quite nice. And so then this is another really recent read, and if you follow me on Bookstagram then you'll know about this. But I gave the Gilded ones 5 stars. I enjoyed this so much more than I thought that I would. I read this for Pixarathon. You guys can go watch my Pixarathon vlog if you want to see me reading this and my in-depth thoughts. But this was so good. It's actually kind of a YA dystopian fantasy. It's got magic in it, but the way the world is set up is quite dystopian. So it follows a world where the women at a certain age have their skin cut, and if they bleed red then they're pure and they can go on to get married and be kept in society, but if they don't bleed red then they are tortured basically because they're deemed impure, and our main character bleeds gold. This book is just a real attack on the patriarchy and looking at how women can form relationships and bond under the patriarchy. This was just so good, and I will be reading the rest in this series. And then the last 2 books that I gave 5 stars to. I was waiting till the end to do these because A, one of them at least is my most recent 5-star, and B, they're written by my favourite author of all time, and that is Malibu Rising and Daisy Jones and the Six. I only very recently read Daisy Jones. This Malibu Rising is the book that managed to knock Crescent City off its top spot as my favourite book of the year. Malibu Rising is still my favourite book of the year. So Malibu Rising follows the Reaver siblings, and they throw one big massive summer party every single year. Think Taylor Swift and her 4th of July parties. And really famous people come to them. And at the beginning of the book, you know that by 6 o'clock the next morning, as this party is winding down, the Reaver household will go up in flames, and it follows the events of that day whilst also giving you flashbacks of the history of this family. It has so many crossovers with Evelyn Hugo, so if you like Evelyn Hugo, this basically acts as a sequel / spin-off. And then Daisy Jones and the Six is told as a series of interviews with the band Daisy Jones and the Six, who were absolutely massive in the 70s, were hitting the pinnacle of fame, were really taking off, and then they broke up and disappeared from the music industry for good. And it follows a series of interviews with them in the present day as we get to the bottom of what actually happened. And Taylor Jenkins Reid just has such a way with words, and I adored these. I have never given any of her books less than 5 stars. If she could just start putting out like 2 books a year so I can get my fill, that would be great, because what am I supposed to do now? And so here we have a pretty decent selection of all of the books I gave 5 stars to this year. This is obviously not all of them. Some of them I have an ebook. Some of them are just hidden like right at the top of my shelves. These shelves are all double stacked, and then right at the top of this bookcase is triple stacked, and I wasn't gonna go through all of the books to find them, but I would recommend every single one of these books. So if you take any recommendations from here, I really hope that you enjoy them. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, why not hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. You guys can, you know, see the kind of books that I enjoy, so if you enjoy them too, you might want to stick around. If you have any 5-star recommendations that are kind of like based on these books, do please leave them down in the comments section, because I'm always looking for some new good books. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic week. I hope that you enjoy everything you are reading and there are no reading slumps in your future, and I will see you next week for my next video. Bye guys.